Welcome to Stories of the Sea. I am Zan-Misέλ Κουστώ. For hundreds of centuries, man has traveled the oceans, from Spanish treasure galleons lost during the Age of Discovery to famous battleships sunk during World War II. The sea has swallowed many of these ships without a trace. But since the end of the Second World War, many new methods have been developed to help locate underwater shipwrecks. Locating ancient ships is only half the job. Specialists must carefully preserve and restore these artifacts by removing centuries of salt water, incrustation, and rust. Join us as we follow an expedition of treasure divers in search of a Spanish galleon with a cargo worth more than $1 billion, and witness how with advanced technology we can find forgotten ships and untold riches under the sea.
During the peak of the Spanish Empire, after stripping the New World of its gold and silver, a convoy of treasure galleons would gather together once a year and sail across the Atlantic. The Nuestra Señora de las Maravillas was a flagship for one of these rich Spanish fleets. These annual convoys often ran into problems. Pirates, attracted by the immense wealth, frequently attacked. Powerful storms often dispersed the fleets, and island reefs sent many galleons to the bottom. On January 4th, 1656, even though she had been advised of bad weather, the Nuestra Señora de las Maravillas and her accompanying fleet set sail back to Spain. As the convoy approached the Bahama Islands, it entered the horse latitudes. The Maravillas changed her course and headed east, directly toward Europe. History does not make clear exactly what happened, but due to the weather or bad communication, the Maravillas was struck violently in the starboard bow by a second ship, the Capitana, which was on a reciprocal course. The Maravillas sank with a reported cargo of over 5.5 million pesos, tons of silver ingots, a 5-foot solid gold statue of the Madonna and Child, and a 400-pound gold table, said to be encrusted with emeralds. It was one of the richest shipwrecks ever known to have been lost. The old Spanish routes of the Caribbean and Atlantic are studded with the remains of treasure ships, many of which still have holds filled with gold and silver. These Spanish galleon wrecks have attracted treasure divers for hundreds of years. The first underwater salvagers were the Spanish themselves. Centuries ago, they located a number of ships lost on their trip back to Spain. In 1677, Spanish salvagers found the bow section of the Maravillas and recovered 3.5 tons of silver. Their methods were crude and were confined to shallow wrecks. Work at the sites was limited to how long a man could hold his breath underwater. The only tool used was a simple metal grappling hook towed behind a small rope. The Spanish could only hope that with luck, they would snag onto a ship and locate its treasure. In the years since the Spanish salvage efforts, the hard hat diving suit was developed. Limited by surface air pumps, a cumbersome diving suit, and heavy brass helmets, the technology at least allowed for deeper and longer dives. Since the end of World War II and the development of the aqualung, modern treasure divers now have the ability to search much larger areas with greater flexibility. In 1986, in exchange for 20% of everything recovered, Captain Herbert Humphreys, Jr. negotiated a contract with the government of the Bahamas for salvage rights to a 160 square mile section of ocean off the island's reefs. Humphreys knew from research that a Spanish treasure ship, the Nuestra Señora de las Maravillas, sank in the general area 330 years before.
The gold and precious jewels were carried in the captain's cabin in this area. The entire keel area, which was generally full of river rocks used as ballast, the river rocks were thrown out and silver ingots were put in the entire area here. This is where the valuable cargo was carried. This silver today would be worth in excess of $1.2 billion.
To help in the search, Humphreys called on Art Hartman, a treasure hunter with over 30 years' experience. Using Hartman's ship, the Dare, the team hoped to cut their search time in half.
You have to realize that the water is very deep. It's a lot of sand to move. It's going to be a very, very hard, tough project, but it will be worth it.
This goes back, I've got them going back to 1583, second edition, new charts I got on this thing here, and I see once again Maravilla.
Humphreys' challenge was to find the main part of the ship, the stern, and recover the remaining treasure still worth billions of dollars. Even with the help of 17th century maps and charts, there would be few clues to help locate the wreck. To locate a single spot in such a massive area of ocean is truly like finding a needle in a haystack. To help in his search, Humphreys' ship, the Beacon, employed some of the latest in treasure hunting equipment. Humphreys' expeditions brought along a number of devices ranging from simple metal detectors, magnetometers, sonar, bottom profilers, and the latest in sophisticated navigation gear. Some fully outfitted boats searching for deep wrecks carry diving bells, mini submersibles, and remote vehicles. One of the most critical tools needed to search for a sunken ship is sonar. Sonar scans the ocean and produces a profile or outline of the ocean's bottom. Developed during World War II to locate enemy submarines, sonar, or an echolocation device, sends out sound waves and records them on a chart as they bounce off a large object. Another tool used is a magnetometer. Also employed during World War II as an anti-submarine device, the magnetometer measures variations in the Earth's magnetic field. The magnetometer can detect concentrations of metal along the ocean's floor. Salvagers call these variations anomalies. Depending on the signal strength, magnetometers can locate a bronze cannon or a ship's anchor, both clues to a shipwreck. With his state-of-the-art ship, the Beacon, and the help of these technological devices, Humphreys' crew began scanning the ocean floor.
Well, the magnetometer, you know, is an instrument that we have to track these ships with. You had to read 200 feet under the sand. And the Maravilla scattered, you know, well over 5, maybe 10 miles. So without this instrument here, you're just up the creek. We just got to do this day after day after day. Very boring, but we get it done.
The scanning process is simple and methodical. Once an area is chosen, the instrument is dragged behind a boat in 20-foot passes. Sometimes days will pass without any progress. When a possible wreck is located, another device called a fathometer is used to measure depth along the bottom. When an anomaly is located, a cement block with a buoy is dropped to mark the spot. Each spot is then checked out by divers who go down for a closer look with handheld metal detectors. Humphreys' crew, using a magnetometer, did locate the Maravilla's main anchor, but even this discovery was not enough to pinpoint the main section of the ship.
Well, it could be anywhere over 2 miles. It could be 4 miles. It could be as much as 5 or 8 miles away from here. Which way it went, we got an idea, from what we've done so far. But out here, you just look around. Where do you look at? You know, it's a lot of ocean out here. But we will find it. It's here, we will find it.
With the discovery of the anchor and the confirmation that its size and shape was the same as the one used by the Maravillas, the crew knew that they were in the right area of a Spanish shipwreck. They were determined to keep looking.
Yesterday when we were magging here, where those group of buoys there is over there, is the main hit. I try to get it so you can get in between of them without catching the in the wheels.
Okay, you don't know if it's deep sand or not, huh?
I have no idea. I never went down there. I was dragging the mag though right on the bottom.
Right.
I would have to think it's an anchor or maybe a couple cannons laying there. It's one heck of a lot of anomaly. Not only that, you see that other buoy way out there? See, that's towards that reef. Now, all through there, between here and that buoy over there, I got a lot of little light readings. There's some stuff in there.
Metal detectors can be tuned to detect gold and silver objects buried under coral or sand. A diver can even tune the instrument to avoid interference from mineral salts in the water and other unwanted signals, and ignore tin cans and other worthless bits of iron. The divers continue in the exploration of the site, probing the coral recesses with their metal detectors, searching for evidence of the wreck. By passing the detector's search coil over the ocean bottom, a diver can cover a large area in a relatively short time. In 1986, the beacon had located the bow section of the Maravillas. Scattered among the coral heads were gun barrels, bits of china, and hundreds of pieces of eight. An innovative tool first developed by Mel Fisher in his search for the Atocha is a system by which the boat's propeller wash is directed downward through large elbow-shaped tubes. This technique is used to gently remove the overburden of the sea floor. Treasure divers call this device the mailbox. Attached to the boat's transom, this piece of equipment can blast through deep layers of sand, uncovering any treasure lying below. This is the diver's main excavation tool. It can blast down through 50 feet of water and blow away 20 feet of sand in 30 minutes.
We first found the Maravilla in June 1986 after towing a magnetometer over where we thought we should be looking for many weeks. The bottom there is entirely covered by sand to a depth of 20 feet.
Oh, it was a great experience. Of course, the real pleasure is not in finding the treasure, it's in the hunt.
The whole idea that an eyesight out here that you're looking at billions of dollars, you know, that is there. You know, every time we go down, we bring up a little something.
After months of working on a ship with a select group of men, the camaraderie between the crew members is another treasure without value. The routine of diving, searching for artifacts, eating and sleeping changes little during the months at sea. But it is the shared goal of finding the treasure and the companionship that keeps the men working together as a team. As his search continued, Humphreys consulted with a computer expert, using research data known about the Maravillas at the time of her sinking, such as weather conditions, prevailing winds and ocean depth. A computer model was plotted. With this information, the search was redirected to a new location. As new holes were blown in the sandy ocean floor, the divers began finding green stones resembling uncut glass scattered among the debris.
Got it there, bro? All right. Let's find it. Just right there? Right now.
Yeah, it was getting towards the end of the day, and we found some previous holes and some emeralds like these, a bunch of these, and I was just getting ready to leave this last hole, and I caught a glimpse of a real big green emerald down there, and I just barely got to it before it rolled out of the hole, and I brought it back up to the deck of the boat, and everybody was jubilant, and we were happy, and great morale booster for everybody. You know. It turned out to be later to be 100.85 carats. I was very happy to find it, and very lucky.
The stones found were from Colombia, the highest quality emerald of the time. Because of the Spanish crown's 20% tax on all proceeds brought back from the New World, many of the ship's passengers smuggled untold amounts of gold and jewels aboard the Maravillas. On August 16, 1987, the expedition had a day of emeralds. In one chunk of coral, 42 stones were found, 10 of them over 30 carats each. Because so many emeralds were found in one small spot, it was believed that a wealthy passenger's leather pouch containing the stones had dropped to the bottom when the ship sank. Once a wreck is located, a survey of the area is made with ropes, meter sticks, and compasses before any further excavation begins. Acoustic transponders are used to correlate formations of coral to a mapping system on board the ship. A grid system is carefully established over the excavation area. The exact location of hundreds of objects must be mapped and recorded. Every inch of the wreck is photographed. The system is exact for good reason. Since the location of each object found is charted precisely, a chart is pieced together and the scatter pattern of the wreck is determined. Any remaining timbers are sketched in their current position to better understand how the ship was originally constructed. Sand and silt are gently removed by a device called an airlift. Using compressed air, the lift vacuums up sand, allowing the divers to pick up heavier objects such as gems or coins. In the summer of 1988, after days and weeks of digging holes, moving tons of sand, and finding the odd silver coin or emerald, the crew discovered gold. A 4-pound bar, a pendant from a knight of the Order of Santiago, and jewelry in almost perfect condition were quickly recovered.
I've heard of gold fever, but I never saw it before, and it was incredible, just incredible. Even the cook who you were speaking to was in the water quickly. I mean, we all went diving right then. It was just great. And of course, right behind that, another gold bar, and then the emeralds, the jewelry, and everything. Apparently, we just get a cash. Really beautiful stuff. And the enthusiasm that generated was just remarkable.
After 3.5 centuries, the treasure of the Maravillas was brought to the surface. Divers recovered hundreds of silver coins fused together by the years in the sea. Many items are so encrusted with coral growth that they are unidentifiable. Through a series of chemical treatments, each piece is brought back to life in an air environment. Once the artifacts are brought on board, each pottery shard, every coin, cannon, and remnant of the ship is carefully examined, cataloged, and recorded by an underwater archaeologist. Then the process of restoring the artifacts begins. Conservation of artifacts is an important part of treasure diving. Many expeditions have laboratories set up on board ship to thoroughly clean and stabilize each object found. The preservation process differs with the material involved. Ceramics, glassware, and stone objects suffer little damage from salt water. Wood and other soft objects rarely survive unless they are covered by mud. A wooden ship can quickly disintegrate after sinking, as fungus or worms attack the timbers. Almost all organic material, such as leather, canvas, and rope, is usually destroyed by natural organisms. Once an artifact comes out of the water, the problem becomes preserving it in air. A piece of wood, which managed to be preserved in seawater, deteriorates rapidly when exposed to air. After centuries of resting in the ocean, porous objects made of stone or wood are usually soaked in plain water to remove the salt. Encrusted items are immersed in a freshwater bath, and a mild solution of muriatic acid is added. The acid slowly eats away at the incrustation, releasing the artifact from the coral. Gold is virtually immune to any kind of damage by seawater. Its unmistakable luster remains no matter how long it's been in the water. but it may be damaged by wave action against the sand, rocks, or coral on the ocean bottom. Silver and iron metals are affected by a chemical reaction with seawater. After centuries of adapting to a saltwater environment, iron objects deteriorate rapidly when re-exposed to the air. Iron artifacts, such as a navigator's tool or a ship's fitting, quickly become encased with oxidation underwater. After 300 years in the saltwater, the metal itself has long since been eaten away and disappeared. All that remains is a shell of the original, which can serve as a mold for making a faithful cast replica of the original iron object. To the untrained eye, chunks of silver or pieces of 8, blackened by 3 centuries in salt water, may look worthless.
Yeah, that's a piece of 8, 330 years old.
Objects are soaked in a special solution while a current is passed through them. This begins a transformation process. This reverse electrolysis treatment removes the black silver sulfate from the metal. A blackened coin can return to a shiny condition in as little as 36 hours. An anchor may take up to 2 years. A final rinse and polish, and the silver coins look as new as the day they were minted. As Humphrey's search in the summer of 1989 came to a close, the Madonna and Child and the emerald-encrusted gold table still remained to be found. The sea had relinquished millions in gold and silver and historical artifacts, but she's not ready to give up the largest part of the treasure. Today, the artifacts that have been recovered are now on display at the Cayman Maritime and Treasure Museum in the Grand Caymans.
In front of me are a few samples of the vast amount of treasure we discovered on the Maravillas. We have gold coins, silver pieces of 8, uncut emeralds, silver nuggets, and of course the beautiful, beautiful jewelry. A large emerald, this one weighing 100.85 carats, looks very much like a broken Heineken bottle. In the early days, we bypassed many, many of these and didn't even bother to pick them up because we thought they were just broken glass, only to find out they're worth an extremely large amount of money. An amethyst looks like a broken mirror. Silver nuggets are black pieces of coal. And here we've got 70 pounds of silver in one bar that can make thousands and thousands of pieces of 8. The Meraviglia project has been great fun and a fantastic adventure, but best of all, it's been enormously profitable.
Humphrey still believes that the scattered trail of artifacts that his crew has found will eventually lead to the mother lode stored in the captain's cabin.
Only recently have treasure hunters and underwater archaeologists been able to uncover shipwrecks hidden deep under the waves. Objects discovered at these sites provide us with indispensable scientific evidence of man's past. Many more shipwrecks still await the underwater adventurer, man of skill and passion, whose mission is to find wreck sites and provide valuable information about earlier times. I'm Zan-Misélel Κουστώ, and this is one of many stories of the sea.